This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 669 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Today's tip is brought to you by EquestrianCollections.com. Hi, Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is an excerpt from the Driving Radio Show, episode number 47. Glenn and Wendy talk about the governing vessel. No, not Arnold Schwarzenegger's boat, but one of the main rivers of the body's yin and yang energies. Tune in and find out how the very youngest as well as really, really old patients can benefit from its balancing effects. But first, let's hear from today's sponsor.
Hi, Glenn the Geek here with Debbie from Equestrian Collections with this week's Product of the Week. What do we have, Debbie?
Hi, Glenn. This week I'm going to talk about the Ariat Ladies Volant Zip Paddock Boots. I want to tell you, I know up front that you're going to say, these are expensive paddock boots, and you're right. But let me tell you, they are worth it. I had the opportunity to get a pair recently, and I thought, I can't imagine any paddock boot being worth $200. But I put my foot in that thing, and it's amazing. It is so comfortable. You can ride in it all day, of course. You can ride in any paddock boot, but this thing is you can walk in it. If you're a trainer, if you're spending much time on your feet, this thing is well worth the price. And it's very cool, too. It has the one in the picture we have on our site has blue, but it also comes in red trim. It's a very cool new Ariat thing. It come in tall boots as well. Honestly, I haven't worn the tall boots, but the paddock boots, I can give it a thumbs up, 2 thumbs up on the Ariat Volant Zip paddocks.
And you can find those at EquestrianCollections.com. Just search for Volant, V-O-L-A-N-T, on Equestrian Collections, and you'll find them right there. The Ariat Ladies Volant Zip Paddock.
And now, on with today's tip.
All right, Wendy, what are we talking about today? Oh, yeah, we're talking about the governor's election, right?
The governing vessel.
Oh,
it's the governor's boat.
Okay. Got it.
No, just kidding. The governing vessel is a meridian. You know, I talked about the other meridians that are associated with the 5 elements and all that.
Yes.
The governing vessel runs along the midline. There's 2 meridians that run along the midline. One's the governing vessel that runs along the back, and the other's the conception vessel that runs along the front. We tend to not do much acupuncture in the conception vessel of horses because it's hard to reach, but I can talk about that next week, and we'll talk about how you use that as like alarm points. But the governing vessel runs from the lip, the middle of the lip, like you know in horses where they have that whorl on their nose, it's like a star on their nose. It runs from there. It actually runs from inside the lip, but it runs from there along the spine and down to in between the tail and the anus, and then it goes inside to the sex organs, and that's where it connects up with the conception vessel. So that's like it's a circuit all the way around. But the governing vessel is also important because it connects with all 6 of the yang meridians. So the yang meridians are the small intestine, large intestine, stomach, bladder, triple-heater, and gallbladder. And I've talked about all those before, so I'm not going to get into that. That's just a recap. But the yang meridians, like your yang is your, like your heat. It's the brightness. You know, the yang is the energy, the fire, and the yin is the cold and the dark. So this meridian is used a lot with disorders like chi disorders. So if you're like really tired all the time, it's also used a lot for heat problems, because the yang is involved with the heat. So you can, like, whenever I have anhydrosis horses, I need to clear the heat, or a horse with fever, I work on governing vessel points. So,
Now, headaches, are they involved in that too? Because
yes, yeah, headaches and mental disorders, because you use the points closer to the head on the governing vessel. Okay. But I had an actually great case the other day that I used the governing vessel. I got called out for a horse that was an older horse, like a 32-year-old warm-blood mare. And she was down and rolling, but got stuck in a little ditch, just a tiny little drainage ditch. Like a normal horse could have gotten out of it. But she was colicking a little bit and then kind of got stuck in there. And then totally exhausted herself trying to get out of this ditch. So by the time I got there, it was like, I'd given up completely and was laying. I mean, I thought it was dead when I got there. So, that's a hard thing to see. And it's a 32-year-old horse, and her heart was just like giving out. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to try this governing. I'm going to try to, stimulate her life force. So, I used the point right there on the nose that I told you about, that whirl on their nose. And I'm sure that these people thought I was a total wacko anyways. But I said, well, let me try this. So I stick this thing in her nose. I did some other points on her back. And I used byway, which is if you get your horse acupunctured, almost everybody will use byway. And that's near the lumbosacral junction. That byway means 100 meetings. So we use it all the time. So that is it's a stimulating point. And then I did another point on the governing vessel that's called the Ming Meng point. And that's like your life force. Sometimes I talk about your internal fire, or like your Jing, your life force.
Yep.
That's like the special point for your life force. So I did those on the governing vessel, and then I did some other points that are called 3-mile points. So you're supposed to stick the needle in there, and you can run 3 miles. So there's a point there on the back of the leg, and there's a point on the front of the leg. So I did those points, and then I also did a point for her heart chi, which is it's on the heart meridian, right by her accessory carpal bone. And then I did just a couple other points for the chi, and I did a point also that does help her relax. So in case she was in a panic state inside, she could relax, focus, whatever. And I have to admit that inside I was kind of feeling oh my God, I feel so bad, because I was feeling a little bit hopeless, but I didn't want to, show that on the outside. And then we put those points in, and I stimulated a little bit, and all of a sudden she sat up out of the ditch.
Probably scared you.
It was what? Yeah, because I was patting her head, and I had my knee on her withers to kind of try to prop her up, and all of a sudden she just flipped her front legs up and sat up out of the ditch, and I was like, oh my God. It was one of those moments where it makes you a real believer. Because I'm a scientist. It's hard for me to do these things with no scientific evidence, right? But I know there's no placebo effect. These are animals.
Right.
Right? So I was just it was one of my best days in vet medicine that day.
And the horse got up out of the ditch?
Yeah, she sat there a little while, and then we gave her a chance to catch her breath. It took her 30 minutes to get up. But, she did get up. And, she just needed she needed to rally and come back. She was in shock. When I got there, she was in shock. Her lips were cold. Her legs were cold. So she was totally pale gums.
Yeah,
but
she was
brought her around.
She was next to it, wasn't she?
Yeah, and actually, this was one of the incidents that got me interested in Chinese medicine, because there was an article in JAVMA when I was JAVMA is the journal for the American Veterinary Medical Association, and it was when I was in vet school. I was fostering a lot of puppies and kitties through a rescue organization, and there was an article about a litter of kittens that were born dead, and they used acupuncture and they stimulated this point, and they all were revived. And that was written in a peer-reviewed journal, and that was written in 1998, which acupuncture was not well received then.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't real popular back then.
No, so this was like one of the things that I said, this is in our peer-reviewed journal. And this made a difference. This made a huge difference to this litter of kittens, right? Are you dead or not dead?
Yeah. That's about as different as you can get.
Yeah. And this is something you can be out in the field and have nothing. You have a pocket full of needles. Even if you don't have needles, you could still try to stimulate that some way. So I think it's really a great, that's one of the points that I always teach my clients to recognize if they need something in an emergency. And then later on, we put her on ginseng powder to help her. But, she is 32, so you have to worry about that. Their chi can get exhausted really fast, just like old people. You don't want to, take them out in the heat and go jogging when, with 90-year-old people, because they have other medical issues like lung problems and, weak heart problems. So that was.
Congratulations!
Thanks, Glenn. Any other questions about the governing vessel?
Well, a success story says it all, doesn't it? Now, you do use it so it's used for many different things, not just bringing horses back to life.
No, I use that. I use the governing vessel every time I acupuncture.
Okay, so that's what I thought. It's one that is used almost every time for a variety of stuff.
Yeah, for a variety of stuff. I use it almost all the time. One of the other most common times that I use it is there's a point right at the base of the forelock. That's a calming point. So a lot of times, if I'm doing teeth or if I'm doing some procedure, I do that point first, and it calms them. Also, if you French braid your forelock tight enough, I think in some horses it does stimulate that point, because I have had a couple, I see a lot of behavioral issues. And so, these people are desperate. They're like, please just give me anything that will make my horse stay in the ring. So I'm like, well, you know what? French braid that forelock really tight and see if it makes a difference. And I've had maybe 50% of the cases say that they have noticed a difference.
Huh. Interesting.
Interesting indeed. If you just can't get enough of Wendy and Glenn, you can listen to them every week on the Driving Radio Show. Just go to drivingradioshow.com. And you can also visit Wendy at her website at 5 Elements for Animals. Use the digits, don't spell it out. 5elementsforanimals.com. And don't forget to support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily, because they make these podcasts possible. Today's podcast has been brought to you by EquestrianCollections.com. Just like Horse Tip Daily brings the whole world of equine knowledge to you, Equestrian Collections brings the whole world of equine shopping to you. Check them out today at EquestrianCollections.com and tell them Coach Jen sent you. Please stop by the Horse Tip Daily Facebook page and let us know what you think of the tips you hear on the show. It's also a great place to tell us about topics you'd like to hear us cover on the show. You can subscribe to all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network through iTunes or Zune and get your horse podcasts automatically downloaded to your iPod, Zune, or MP3 player. You can also listen to the shows right on Facebook. The player's right there every day. I'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, go ride your horse. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.